What's up, everybody? This is Tech G back with another video to help you successfully pass the CompTIA A Plus 220-1201 certification exam. So let's get into it. All right, so you got a mobile device that's acting up. Maybe the battery drains faster than a race car on empty, the keys are unresponsive, or your camera just refuses to focus. Any of that sound familiar? Well, whether you're trying to fix your own device or you're studying for the CompTIA A Plus exam, knowing how to monitor and replace mobile hardware is a super useful skill. And don't worry, we're not diving into rocket science here. I'm just going to break everything down in layman's terms so that you understand everything that you need to know to hopefully help you successfully pass this exam. So with that being said, let's go. Before we jump into the parts and tools, let's talk real quick about why this stuff matters. So mobile devices aren't just luxury gadgets anymore. They are essential. When something breaks, people freak out. They rely on their devices for work, communication, entertainment, and security. That means the ability to identify issues and fix them efficiently and correctly. This can make you the hero of the day. And if you're preparing for the A+ exam, this is exactly the kind of hands-on knowledge you'll need to pass and, more importantly, succeed in the field. All right, so let's talk about the most common mobile device hardware that you're going to deal with. So let's break this down by components that you're most likely to monitor or replace, because each part has its own symptoms, tools, and techniques. Let's start off with the battery, which is the lifeline of your device. And some symptoms that you want to watch out for are quick battery drain, device randomly shuts off, you got a swollen battery case, or overheating during basic use. Now, when it comes to monitoring techniques, most mobile operating systems, they give you basic battery health reports. For iOS, you can go to your settings, battery health and charging. And on Android, you can access usage stats or use apps like AccuBattery. And when it comes to replacement tips, you want to turn off the device first, so do not skip that step, and then remove the back panel if accessible, because some phones like older Androids, they do make this kind of easy. And if it's a sealed unit like most iPhones, then you're going to need a prying tool and possibly a heat gun to soften the adhesive. And once you do all of that, you want to use anti-static gloves and a plastic spudger to disconnect the battery safely, and then always replace with the correct battery model, because mismatched batteries can be dangerous. All right, next we have keyboards and keys, and some symptoms that you want to watch out for are unresponsive keys, sticky or physically damaged buttons, or random keystrokes, which is known as ghost typing. And some monitoring techniques, you want to use software like Keyboard Tester, which is an online tool, or Device Manager in Windows to identify hardware issues. And some BIOS or UEFI settings also include keyboard diagnostics. When it comes to replacement, you want to shut down and unplug the device, remove the keyboard screws, check under the battery or rubber feet for hidden ones, use a plastic pry tool to lift the keyboard gently, disconnect the ribbon cable from the motherboard, and replace with a compatible part and reassemble. Now, as a pro tip, if it's just one or two keys, a keycap replacement kit, this might can save you a whole bunch of trouble. All right, next let's talk about random access memory, or RAM. So this one's more common in laptops than tablets or phones, but we're going to talk about it anyway. And some symptoms to watch out for are sluggish performance. Your apps are constantly crashing frequently, or you experience blue screen errors. And some monitoring techniques, you can use the Task Manager in Windows or Activity Monitor on Mac to see your memory usage. You can also use tools like MemTest86, where it can run diagnostics. And when it comes to replacement tips, you want to power down and unplug everything, locate the RAM compartment, which is usually accessible with a small Phillips head screwdriver. You want to press the clips to release the old module. You want to line up the notch on the new RAM stick and press down until it clicks. And you also want to make sure the replacement RAM is compatible in terms of DDR type, frequency, and size. All right, next let's talk about the hard disk drive and the solid state drive. So again, this is more common in laptops, but some tablets may have what is called an eMMC or SSD storage that can be upgraded. And some symptoms you want to watch out for are sluggish boot times, clicking or grinding noises when it comes to HDDs, and frequent crashing or file corruption. And some monitoring techniques, you want to use tools like Crystal Disk Info or Mac OS Disk Utility to check the drive health. And you can watch for smart errors or bad sectors. And when it comes to replacement tips, you want to back up your data first. You want to remove the drive cover on the bottom of the device, and you want to carefully disconnect the SATA or NVMe interface, then install the new drive, reconnect it, and secure it. And you're going to need to reinstall the OS or clone the old drive using software like Macrium Reflect or CloneZilla. Next, we have wireless cards. Now, you'd be surprised how many slow Wi-Fi complaints are due to failing wireless cards. And some symptoms you need to watch out for are as a person that cannot connect to Wi-Fi, the signal drops all the time, or your Bluetooth stops working if it's using a combination card. And some monitoring techniques, you can check the device manager for driver errors or missing hardware, or you can use built-in diagnostics on the operating system like Windows Network Troubleshooter. And when it comes to replacement tips, you want to power off and remove the battery if applicable. You want to access the wireless card bay, which is usually next to the RAM. You want to unscrew the card and gently detach the antenna cables. You want to insert the new card, reattach the antennas, and secure it with the screw. And do not forget to reinstall the correct drivers after you do all of that. All right, so let's talk about security features like biometrics and NFC. So when it comes to biometrics like fingerprint scanners and Face ID, some symptoms you want to watch out for are inconsistent or failed authentication and error messages during setup. And how you can go about monitoring this stuff, you want to use system settings to reconfigure or recalibrate, or you want to check for operating system updates or sensor driver updates. When it comes to replacement, well, these are often embedded in the home button or power button. So you want to carefully pry off the cover and disconnect the biometric sensor cable, then install a replacement part and test functionality before you seal it. All right, next there's NFC or near field communication, and some symptoms you want to watch out for is it cannot make tap to pay transactions, or the devices do not detect nearby tags. And ways you can monitor this is by using built-in testing apps or developer tools and ensuring that the NFC is enabled in the system settings. When it comes to replacements, well, NFC coils, they are usually part of the back case or attached to the motherboard, so you may need to remove the back panel or replace the flex cable containing the NFC chip. And then we have the Wi-Fi antenna connector. So this one's sneaky and is often overlooked, but it is super important. And some symptoms you want to watch out for are weak or no Wi-Fi signals, or the signal drops when you move the device. And when it comes to monitoring, you want to use a Wi-Fi analyzer application to measure signal strength, and you want to compare performance to another device using the same network. When it comes to replacement, well, the antenna cables, they run from the wireless card to specific areas of the chassis or screen bezel. So replacing them this often means opening up the display or frame. And then once you do all of that, you want to route the cables exactly as originally placed, because wrong routing, this can equal a weak signal. All right, next we have the camera and the webcam, and some symptoms that you want to watch out for are there is no image, or it's a black screen, or you have blurry or fuzzy photos, or the application crashes when you open the camera. And ways to monitor this is you can try accessing the camera in multiple apps, and you can check for driver or firmware issues. When it comes to replacement, you want to remove the back cover or the bezel on laptops. You want to disconnect the ribbon cable connecting the camera module, and you want to replace and secure the new camera. And as a pro tip, you want to clean the lens and check application permissions before assuming a hardware failure. We also have the microphone, and some symptoms you want to look out for are people cannot hear you on a call, your voice assistant does not respond, or there's static or poor audio quality. When it comes to monitoring, you want to test with a voice recording app. You want to try to use an external mic to rule out software issues. When it comes to replacements, well, mics, they are usually soldered to the flex cable, or they are part of the main board. So replacing them, this might require delicate desoldering or replacing the entire board section. And if you do all of that, you want to use a magnifying glass and ESD tools or electrostatic discharge tools, because mobile microphone replacement, this is not for the faint of heart. All right, so let's talk about some safety before you do anything with your electronic device. So before you open up any of your mobile devices, here is a quick safety checklist. First things first, you want to power down the device. You also want to unplug it from the power source. You want to use an ESD strap or mat. And once again, ESD, that stands for electrostatic discharge. This basically removes any static electricity from your body, which can cause issues to an electronic device. You also want to work in a clean, well-lit area. You also want to keep track of all your your screws and parts, and you also want to label them or use a magnetic match so none of the screws just up and disappear from your working area. And you also want to consult the device manual or the teardown guide. Now, if you don't have access to that information, all of that stuff I'm sure is online somewhere waiting for you to discover it. All right, so let's go ahead and wrap this lesson up. So do not feel overwhelmed. Nobody becomes a mobile repair ninja overnight. So if you're studying for the A+ exam, your focus should be on understanding what each component does, how to spot when it's failing, and the safest and most efficient way to replace it. Try practicing with an old or broken device. Use YouTube or repair guides to walk you through the process, because the more you do it, the more confident you will become. And remember, IT support isn't just about knowing what part to fix. It's about being calm, methodical, and safety conscious while you're doing it. And here's a bonus tip. So if you want to build your own mobile device repair kit, where here's what you're going to need to have on deck. You're going to need to have a precision screwdriver set. You're going to need some plastic spudgers, a suction cup, an anti-static wrist strap, a heat gun or an eye opener, some tweezers, magnetic parts tray, and a multimeter for voltage checks. And also, if you do decide to do this, you want to invest in good tools, because cheap ones will break, and breaking your tools during a repair is no fun. Now, with all of that being said, let's do some check on learning to see if you've been paying attention. So, a user reports that their laptop shuts down unexpectedly, even when the battery indicator shows a 50% charge. What is the most likely cause, and what should the technician do? It's a faulty Wi-Fi antenna, so they should replace the antenna? Is it a damaged HDD? So you want to perform a low-level format? Is it a failing battery? So you want to replace the battery? Or is it a malware infection? So you want to run antivirus software? And the correct answer is it is a failing battery, so you want to replace the battery. So a laptop that shuts down while showing significant charge often has a failing battery that can no longer hold a proper charge. So replacing the battery is the correct remedy. Next question. A technician is disassembling a laptop to replace the Wi-Fi card. What component must be carefully disconnected and reconnected during this process to ensure proper wireless functionality? Is it the heatsink, the Wi-Fi antenna connector, the power supply connector, or the SATA data cable? And of course, the answer is going to be the Wi-Fi antenna connector. So Wi-Fi cards and laptops, they typically have small antenna connectors, and they're oftentimes black and white, and they must be detached before moving the card and then reattached to the new card for proper reception. And our final question is, a user complains that their laptop's biometric login, such as the fingerprint scanner, no longer works. The device is detected in Device Manager but fails during scans. What is the best next troubleshooting step? Would it be to replace the RAM, update or reinstall the biometric driver, disable the wireless card, or reposition the Wi-Fi antenna? And the correct answer is it is to update or reinstall the biometric driver. So if the fingerprint scanner is visible in Device Manager but not functioning properly, it could be a software driver issue. So updating or reinstalling the biometric driver is the correct next step before considering hardware replacement.